So I'm sure you can tell which of us is Phyllis and which of us is Kevin, right? He's the tall one.
Good morning. Welcome to the conference.
Yeah.
Phyllis and I went to school here as alumni undergrad, actually.
Yeah.
2 years separate, so it's good to have you at our home institution. It's going to be a lot of good papers today, a lot of really nice posters.
And I want to thank the president of Cal Poly Pomona, who's here, and introduce her, Dr. Soraya Coley. She has some words to say to everyone.
Well, I also want to applaud again Kevin and Phyllis for their engagement and leadership with regards to this important conference. I want to join Lily and others in welcoming you to Cal Poly Pomona. This is indeed representative of our pedagogical approach here at this institution, and that is, you'll hear oftentimes the phrase learn by doing. And there is no better learning than to work with our esteemed faculty and work with our staff and to learn through that engagement and to apply that knowledge and be able to manifest then these outstanding posters and articles and presentations. And so your educational experience, certainly not only here at Cal Poly Pomona, but I'm sure at your institution, but we are especially proud of what we do here. Your education is deepened as a result of the ability to work side by side with faculty and again be able to test out your ideas before you get into industry and career avenues. I do want to take a moment to, though Lily just kind of brushed over the achievement that this conference and other activities represent, I do want to take a moment to again acknowledge her. It's outstanding that she agreed to be chair of the American Society for Engineering Education for the Pacific Southwest Conference, and also it continues to push the envelope relative to having women and women of color in these important roles, and also it coincides with the commitment of Cal Poly Pomona, the College of Engineering, and the profession to expand options and opportunities for women and others in the fields, in the engineering, but also just broadly in society. We know in California that 1 in every 14 engineers is a Cal Poly Pomona grad. When we look and see the projections for 2030, we're going to be short 1 million individuals. Now that's just around the corner. And so we need all individuals who are interested in engineering, but also those who don't even know about engineering but have the aptitude and the potential. And so that's why programs like this is so important, because not only are we at Cal Poly Pomona engaged in these activities here with our students, but we're in the schools, we're in the high schools, we're in the elementary schools, because we need to build strong pipelines. And so I applaud the sponsors for recognizing the importance of this. I want to particularly acknowledge our industry partners, because it has to be a joint effort in order for us to achieve the outstanding work that we need to keep not only California competitive, but to make sure that the nation is able to address the complex problems that are ahead for us. So I do hope that you will enjoy the day, that particularly the students, I want to applaud you. We are so proud of what your work represents. We also, one of the things that I say to students oftentimes is, tell me how you have failed. And I explain to them that that does not mean to go out here and say it's okay. The president said it was okay to fail a course. What I am saying to the students is, I want you to engage in activities in solving complex problems, and you're not going to have the answers at first, but it's through dedication, through diligence, through working with teams that the answer unfolds. And so it is the mindset that we want you to have of resiliency, of determination, of creativity, and innovation. So we're just so proud of you. I want to especially acknowledge the faculty, because our faculty here at Cal Poly Pomona are extremely dedicated to the educational success and outcomes, but we know that the faculty across the CSU in these areas have done tremendous work, both in and outside the classroom, to have the kind of accomplishments that we enjoy. So please take advantage of the day. Knowing Lily, there are a number of activities that aren't just all engineering related that she has planned for the conference. And so please enjoy, and again, welcome to Cal Poly Pomona.
And now we have a slight change in the program. We're honored to have our provost, Dr. Sylvia Alva, and I'd like to invite her to come up and greet everyone also. Sylvia?
Good morning, everyone. It's an exciting time here at Cal Poly Pomona. I want to extend my welcome to all of you, and really my deep appreciation for coming together as a community to think about how do we widen the pathway to exciting careers in engineering, and how do we think about the way in which we engage students, not just in the classroom, but also through our engagement with the community and industry partners to make engineering come alive and create an opportunity for students to enter into this exciting profession. I know what is in store for you is probably going to be, I know it's going to be an exciting event. And again, I just want to extend Academic Affairs Divisional welcome to each and every one of you, and thank you for being here today.
Thank you very much, Provost Alva. And now I'd like to, okay, so I didn't practice. I do that in my lectures too. So now I'd like to introduce our Associate Vice President for Academic Planning and Faculty Affairs, Dr. Shanthi Srinivas.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome. We're delighted you're here to be here on our beautiful campus. As you can tell, we're very proud of this campus. We even organized a tour for you all, and we're really pleased that you're here. As the President has mentioned, our focus has been and continues to be on student success. We've been using a multi-pronged approach. We've been putting a lot of emphasis on strong advising, mentorship, student clubs, our educational enhancement program. You've heard from Lily, who represents the Maximizing Engineering Potential. So we've been doing all this. We do this because we want to create strong pathways for our students. We want to be able to set them up for success, to facilitate their growth, and you've all contributed to that, and you continue to do that. We're also, in our College of Engineering, we also have, for the last, I'd say, 10 years, had an intentional and intense focus on infusing technology into engineering education. And we've had several, I'm going to talk a little bit about my personal experience with the College of Engineering. I'm out there in faculty affairs, a little removed from all of this, but every now and then I have the pleasure and the opportunity to have a tiny little impact. So let me talk a little bit about that in terms of the MOOC that we had. We had Cal Poly's first ever MOOC that was offered a couple of years ago by Paul Nissenson. And when he approached me, I thought, okay, he's just coming here because he wants to try something out. This is the rage, and he wants to dip his toe in there to see what the environment looks like and so on. Little did I know that this was part of a grand plan. And so when he first offered this, and mind you, it was on a budget. We were right in the middle of our budget cuts, and so all I could offer him was a few units of assigned time, and then I said, how are you going to generate money to make up for the rest of the costs you have? And he very graciously put together a plan. But that particular initial foray into MOOCs had about 2,000 students, and then in the following year it had 12,000 students. So you can see that there was quite a bit of demand for that type of on-demand learning. And then, of course, we have Jawa Mariappan, whom you've all seen on those videos. You just type that in and all of his videos pop up with the strong support of the Chancellor's Office in terms of redesigning courses. And you'll all have a chance later on to take a look at ME Online, which I understand is a strong attempt to try to unbundle the curriculum, so to speak, to look at concept-based learning rather than course-based learning, so that some of these ideas can move across the curriculum, and where the students can pull it on demand and create their own personal learning environment. In all of these efforts, I also want to acknowledge the work that our e-learning team has done under Victoria Babsar's leadership. We have a fantastic group of instructional designers as well as multimedia experts who work hand in hand with the faculty in order to create these wonderful objects that you will see later on in the program. I hope that as you go through this conference, you're inspired not only by what's being done here at Cal Poly Pomona, but that you learn from your colleagues and you have some really good takeaways from all of our fine institutions in the Pacific Southwest. So I thank you very much for being here, and I hope you have a wonderful conference.
So I'm sure you noticed that Kevin and I both dressed up special. This is, Cal Poly is a learn by doing place, so appreciate the suit. I've never seen him in a suit before.
I've known her for 25 years.
Before we go on, I want to just acknowledge one other person in the audience. That's Dr. Terry Gomez, who is the Associate Provost for Student Success, who's also been very supportive of the conference.
Yes, thank you all for coming. And as you know, we have an action-packed day for you. We have multiple parallel sessions going on, and those are going to be located all inside the Bronco Center here, so you won't have to leave the facility for those of us visiting. And most of it is going to be down the hall in the major rooms and in the 2 rooms below us. And then all the food and things like that will be in this room here. At lunch will be in here. And for those folks that are going to be joining us for the banquet tonight, this will be the site of the banquet. And we also have a dance floor set up. So anything else that we want to announce?
Well, one of those logistics things for those people who haven't discovered where we hide the restrooms, they're just outside the door to the left. And I'm sure that will be very useful in just a few minutes. Also, I want to say a few words. I want to thank everyone who volunteered to work on this conference. All the paper reviewers, the reviews were two reviewer double blind. We have a record number of student posters, and a record number of nominations for student awards for papers in this conference, and I think that represents the hard work that everyone's been doing with their students and the efforts of faculty all across the Pacific Southwest region. And I also want to thank everyone for coming, and we'll turn this over to our next activity.
Thank you.
Terry, I did put your photo up there. I just want to put a plug tonight. We're going to have the awards banquet. I helped to organize the one in 2014. We had it on the Queen Mary. This is not the Queen Mary. We do have the dance floor, so I will. We'll have fun tonight. I have the Kolohe Canes. They are a band from Hawaii. They're a tribute band, and anyone know Down Ho? He was like the Hawaiian Elvis. Manny Lagod, their lead singer, I think he's in his mid-80s. He'll be dancing, and he has his ukulele with him. But those are the Tiny Bubbles people. They're going to be here. I have a young lady from the Choctaw Native American nation. She'll be singing the national anthem in her native language. And I have a hula dancer. She's also of Native American descent. So she had asked to have some faculty, men and women, come up to do the hula tonight at 6. So I'll be pulling you from the audience. So if you get called, please come up. Do not resist. So it will be fun. We will have layers for you to wear, so you'll look Hawaiian. So again, if you are coming to the banquet, again, we have the vegan option, but we also have steak, so we should be fed throughout the day. If you are still hungry, please let me know. We'll order more food. And as I get ready, I know Dr. Angela Shi is here. I'd like her to have her team set up. Our very next sponsored session is the Course Redesign with Technology Initiative. It's the Department of Mechanical Engineering, Cal Poly Pomona, in partnership with the California State University Office of the Chancellor. So I'd like to have Dr. Shi come up. Thank you. Yeah. And at this time, I'd like to invite all the panelists to come up to the stage, please.
Welcome to sunny Southern California. At least the temperature is a little bit more bearable today. In the beginning of the week, we're 95 degrees. I know my dog has been very confused the last couple months. He doesn't know whether he should shed or not shed because the weather has been very wily so much. As we're setting up for the panel, I want to kind of give a little bit of the background of where this work comes about. And let me go ahead and hand my computer to the panelists so they have the PowerPoints. As Shanti has mentioned and the various leadership in Cal Poly, that we have a very strong commitment to student success. And especially in engineering, where our College of Engineering is dedicated to engineering education, as all of us are here in the conference. That's why we're here. We're interested in educating students. In the past few years, we have been redesigning several of our high failure rate, or the so-called bottleneck courses. I'm sure many of you, when you hear the courses, you're going to nod and say, yep, statics, dynamics, strength of materials, fluid mechanics. One of our courses, systems dynamics, is a high-level, intense abstract math, Laplace transform, differential equation, that sort of stuff. And we have been looking at various different pedagogy in terms of how to improve student success in those courses. And in 2013, the Chancellor's Office started a brand new program called Course Redesign with Technology. And for us, that was an opportunity for us to get some funding to push our course redesign to the next level. So we started with one course. Of course, our top choice, I'm sure everybody can guess it, was statics. So we started with statics, and then we successfully have redesigned it. In the next course, we thought, why don't we try a couple more courses? So we diversify our portfolio. We did 3 courses. And this last year, we are now having 7 courses being redesigned with 16 out of 22 department faculty all involved in this effort. And then at this time, obviously the effort is a campus-wide effort. We involve an external assessor. We have e-learning helping us doing instructional design. We have the Chancellor's Office with the funding. Our faculty are talking to each other. And we did everything on a budget. We all know that we don't have the funding resources as many of the R1 universities, and we're very envious of that. So the thought is, if we can do it, if we can accomplish so much with so little funding and the resources, why not share the story in the ASWE conferences? And with all the membership here, I'm sure we can collectively, we can do much, much, much more. And that is the purpose of today's presentation, is to share the story and then see if there are any opportunities to collaborate. So, and then to also help to improve the process collectively, if we can all put our brains together and can all do this better. And the setup of the panel will be a little bit different than the traditional panel, and this is something I've learned from industry, which is each panelist is going to have 3 to 5 minutes to talk, and then we're going to open the questions to the audience. So it's not going to be a pre-set up question I get to ask, so you get to ask the question. The microphone is set up in the front, so please come up to the front so the entire audience can help and hear your question. And our panelists will then answer the questions, and then we have about 3 to 5 minutes for that particular topic, and then we move on to the next topic. At the end of the session, we'll have another 10 to 15 minutes so that we can have a more overall general questions asked for our panelist members and myself. And we want the session to be really, really active, but would you mind if you can wait to ask your questions until each panelist have complete his or her 3 to 5 minute slide? And there will be a slide popping up and say any questions. That's where we're going to open the floor. So I've talked a little bit about in the beginning why we're interested in doing it. And the panel members, I'm Angela Shi, Chair of Mechanical Engineering. I will be the moderator today. Our first speaker will be Dr. Leslie Kennedy. She's part of the Chancellor's course redesign team. You may say that that entire team is our mentor. We've learned a lot from the CSU course redesign team the last 3 years. At the same time, they've been our funding sources to make everything possible. So we are really, really, really grateful for the Chancellor's Office to have this grand vision of this opportunity to help all of the engineering faculty in the CSU, actually all faculty in the CSU, a chance to think about the new learning pedagogies and to redesign their courses. And next, we have Dr. Mariappan Jawa. He's one of our ME faculty, and he will be the face that you see across a lot of the ME pages. So I would call him the face and the voice of ME. And he's the one I'm going to try very hard to limit him to 5 minutes. But he's a great speaker, he's a fun speaker, and so he will start and talk about how he's in charge of designing the entire mechanics sequence. He has been instrumental in leading the entire ME faculty in this course redesign effort. And the next speaker is Dr. Victoria Bavsar, who is the Director of E-Learning, also our faculty center. And the e-learning team has been incredible throughout this process. And when you look at the slides, you'll know which ones belong to the engineering, which one goes with the instructional designer. It's night and day, so we couldn't do this without e-learning. And then Bo Choi is the instructional designer whom I have been working with the last 10 years. Despite how much learning I got from her, I still can't design the slides as she does. So, and I'm sure everybody has somebody like that in your campus. I hope that you can find that somebody you can work closely with, like I have with Bo, and learn so much from her. And then we have Dr. Juliana Fuagua and Dr. Fei Walk, both from the Department of Psychology and Sociology, who are our external assessment experts. Of course, assessing ourselves, we're going to claim, yeah, we've been really, really successful, but who's going to believe us, right? So they're going to share their success story, and they also have a sponsor panel with McGraw-Hill and Noontime that will share more details of how they did the study. And then finally, Dr. Paul Niesensen, also our ME faculty, we call him our video guru. Because anything you want to know about recording, anything, live lectures, Camtasia, anything, that's the person we go to. And he will be doing the official unveiling of ME Online. And without further ado, let's introduce Leslie. Is the microphone working?
On button? On button.
Okay.
Okay, I'll just hold it. I think I have to hold it. Hello, everyone. It's nice to be here. And in the context of the California State University Chancellor's Office, I know you're not all from the CSU, so we thought we'd give you a quick overview of what this course redesign initiative is about that we just heard about. Just explain and why we're here on the panel. Is it too loud? No.
Just let me know next slide and I'll answer for you.
Sorry. Several years ago, about in 2012, we received extra funding from the state. The governor recognizing that we needed to fund innovative instruction and to help with many of our students who are struggling to reach their degrees, and also to broaden or to cross the achievement gap, or what we also call the opportunity gap. So the Enrollment Bottleneck Solutions was developed. We get about $10 million every year from the state, especially for this program. And you can see it outlined up on the screen in that it covers advising and also Course Match, which is an initiative to broaden student access to online courses to maybe fulfill some of their courses that they might not be able to get because many of our students work and have many other responsibilities at the same time. So that's the Course Match activity. And then the course redesign activity is outlined through the 5 circles towards the bottom of the graph. And we've spread the funds across 2 major programs in the project, and you'll see an example of that in a minute. These flashes are throwing me off a bit. I'm not used to that. We just sit in a room and work on our computers all day, right? Anyway, so the proven design model was set for faculty in the CSU. We have about 26,000 faculty, to give them opportunity to share their proven practices that they've been able to develop in being successfully redesigning courses using technologies and also other pedagogies to engage their students. Excuse me. And so faculty applied for the proven course redesign activities and funding, and then they've been able to share that information or their success stories with faculty throughout their departments and colleges at their institutions. And then we have the promising course redesign where faculty were not sure and hadn't tried maybe to redesign their course and wanted to experiment with some of the technologies and pedagogical models that were being implemented by the proven faculty. So that's another funding source that faculty were able to apply for. We also recognize, excuse me, I just got off a plane, so it's been a long week. Then we also have a virtual labs activity to provide access to some labs in an online environment and to allow students to practice certain concepts in that way. And so it's also broadening access and abilities to be accessible, to be successful in practicing specific concepts. And then the Sustaining Success model was just released this year in order to help to broaden the activities that have taken place so far over the last 2 or 3 years within the CSU, and especially here at Pomona, who has applied for Sustaining Success and has wants to now grow the project to help other faculty become involved in the course redesign and also involving students as well. And then the quality assurance model, it comes out of several projects we have in the CSU from using University of Maryland's Quality Matters project. You might have heard that if you're involved at all with online learning and teaching, and or we've developed our own program called COLT, the Quality Online Learning and Teaching Program. And that's also funding lots of faculty, especially those who are involved in online development and or hybrid or blended course development, to take a look at their instructional strategies and possibly adopt and adapt certain models that perhaps would help with their students' success. So that's a little bit about the various tiers of the course redesign model. I'm going to the next slide. And I was asked to talk briefly about the RFP process. So this funding, we release RFPs for all those buckets that I just mentioned, those 5 areas, and then the faculty are invited to apply. We usually work with campus coordinators in the 23 campus CSU. Victoria is our campus coordinator for course redesign. They help let faculty on the campus know that there is funding available. And then when the instructors apply, they need to identify courses that are possibly experiencing some bottlenecks or some challenges for the students to be successful, whether there aren't enough sections or there are students retaking the courses many times for various reasons. And then the instructors outline what they're planning to do in this redesign process, which usually takes a year. And then they also ask for additional funding, possibly for student support assistance. We provide course release, etc. So that's part of the RFP process. And once they're accepted with the funding, I'm going to the next slide. Then this gives you a quick overview of the year-long scope of the course redesign process. We kick off the process in the summer, and we invite all the faculty who've received funding for Proven. And this year we're also going to include the promising faculty to attend a summer institute for various amount of time, where they will be introduced to one another, because the value of this project is that they work together in their discipline cohorts. And also they are introduced to various concepts with regards to scholarly learning and teaching, or course redesign, pedagogical models, and also technology options. And then we do a professional learning community activity twice a month, where there are webinars where we bring in subject matter experts in various areas of course redesign, and also ask faculty to share some of their stories. And that's what the sustaining group is going to be doing, and that's what your sustaining organization, Angela and Victoria, are going to organize as well. So you can see it's an ongoing project, and I won't spend much time. I want to leave more time for Jawa to be able to talk. But we also, one of the unique aspects of this is that at the end we also have our faculty capture their story, their experience of course redesign and their student success, and any feedback, perception surveys, all kinds of activities around this project in an e-portfolio. And we've outlined the stages there, but at the end, if you go to our course redesign site, which we have a link up here somewhere, I'll show you that in a second, you might be interested in looking at lots of very rich information that faculty all over the CSU have shared about their course redesign experiences, and they're meant to be models for other instructors and organizations as well. So we thought we'd share how much funding an instructor can apply for. The cap for each instructor is approximately $20,000. You can see how the funding is distributed with their release time, their support funding that requests that they can ask for, captioning, because as Angela mentioned, many faculty are creating flipped classrooms, what we call flipped classrooms, or making recorded videos of all types of activities to enhance the instructional environment for the students. Captioning is a big part of that, something we've added recently for that. So you can see the various opportunities that are there for the instructors to apply for. And then here's a quick breakdown of what Pomona has received over the past 3 years since 2013, and the funding from, if we go look around the chart from the perspective of going from clockwise, I should say, we have promising funding all the way through to the assessment funds that we provide each institution for their institutional research board to provide us data as to how the students are improving in this experience. Also, Course Match is the online component of what I mentioned earlier. And then even e-advising funding to help out with some of the initiatives that are going on with help broadening the registration and access for students to get to advising in regards to their course and curriculum experiences. So if you have any questions, you could go to our website, and as I said, there is a really rich content area under the faculty showcases, and if you see it there, there's a red carpet kind of curtain area, and if you click on that, you'll get directly to the e-portfolios. And then they're presented in their disciplines, so you can go directly to engineering and see what faculty have been doing with regards to redesigning their courses. Thank you.
So, any questions for Leslie with regard to CSU? Can we pass the microphone around? Okay. Thank you. Is it on?
Hi, so my name is Soham Sohoni. I'm from Arizona State University. First off, I'd like to salute you for doing this because this is such a well thought out and well planned and just such an intense effort. It's awesome. My question is from the faculty's point of view. One of the challenges we face as faculty is time. And this seems like a very strong time commitment for faculty as well. And I was just curious as to, there's a bullet point about release time or something like that, but what's been the response from faculty? Has this been well received? Has this worked for faculty is my question.
So, is this on now? Oh, I don't have to hold it. So your question was the time and the work related?
Yeah, the workload and the time commitment faculty would have to put in to take advantage of this.
I mean, I think maybe a faculty member should address that.
I think Paul can speak for it because he offered a whole MOOC on it, but I would say it's quite a bit of a time commitment if you want to do the whole course. In the past, we tried to do the whole course with one grant, and that's an overcommitment. Paul, you want to add something on how much efforts?
You doing good?
I'll add something from the department point of view. That's the reason we approached it differently. Instead of one faculty going it alone, we have a cohort of faculty, 3 or 4, usually in one course, who share the loads together. And the way I broke it down is that you can choose to do whatever that you want, but if you want to produce videos, based on how difficult the course is and based on how much assigned time that you have gotten, my requirement is production of 5 to 6 3 to 5 minute videos. And that will be enough for me in terms of satisfying the course redesign. And of course, within the group, within the department, we have a lot of discussion among ourselves. So the junior faculty and the senior faculty will spend a lot of time discussing what the videos will look like to make sure the slides are correct, make sure the problems are solved correctly. But we kind of thought that's part of the mentoring process at any rate. That is something you will do at any rate. So I guess the best answer is very time consuming, but if you view it as this is a part of your day-to-day activities in any rate that you have to do, and you do a little piece, one piece at a time with a cohort of faculty who are achieving the same goal, then I don't think the release time isn't too much of an issue. I don't know if that answers that. Victoria?
One thing I will add is just don't try to do the whole course. Take just one concept that you think is the most important in the whole course. Just work on that one concept, and if you can produce a good tutorial for that, I think they'll be pleased.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you.
I wanted to talk about that from a student perspective, actually. I am on a committee on campus that selects grants from our student success fee, and we have an innovative instruction program, and students are on that selection committee as well. And many faculty were proposing assigned time to redesign their courses. And the students looked at that and they thought, shouldn't you all be doing this anyway? And so the committee members, the faculty and administrator committee members kind of had to educate the students on just how much time this takes. And so there's a tension between what you need to be doing as a faculty member in normal activities, always updating and upgrading your courses versus a course overhaul. And we were able to convince the students that this was indeed appropriate, and they were fine with it. But I really like Jawa's point that if you don't have assigned time, just do one thing. And over time, you manage to make that course redesigned gradually.
Any other questions? Oh, Jawa, your turn.
I already start with a bad reputation thanks to Angela and Leslie, so I got nothing to lose.
No, you got a great reputation. We want you to
If
talk.
don't mind, I'm going to stand up there. Is that
That's
okay?
fine.
Not because I want to speak a lot, but I just feel very limited sitting and talking. I'm not used to. So I'm going to talk about the mechanics sequence. Now, most of you are engineers and you know the importance of mechanics sequence, and of course there's fluid mechanics is not there, but these are all the three courses we have been focusing on for the past 3 years: statics, dynamics, strength of materials. And all of you know these are all the foundational courses for all engineers: mechanical, civil, aerospace, chemical, industrial. I mean, name any engineer. Every engineer should be conversant with the basic courses. So we want our students to master these subjects for a long time. We just want to make sure they do it very well, so we keep them for a long time on these courses. We actually used to make them to take many, many times each courses. In fact, before this 3-strike rule came in, I knew students who would take a dynamics class for like 4 times before they get a C. So I always wondered, what is about all these courses? I mean, these are all the foundational courses, very important courses. Pretty much, in my personal opinion, if you understand engineering mechanics, you are almost an engineer, because everything is kind of an extension from that, correct? So what is the underlying theory? So our goal has been always to give this big picture. Engineering mechanics deals with response of bodies under the influence of forces. That's what the mechanics is all about. And statics deals with forces under the conditions of equilibrium, and dynamics deals with when they are accelerating, and strength of material deals with how they react internally. So these courses to me are kind of well-connected, fun, interesting, but still we have the reputation of failing the most number of students. Not just in our department, not just in our college, not in Cal Poly, at one point in time in the entire CSU. We ranked, in dynamics, we failed the most students, like 70, 80%. We have moved away from that, for your information now. But why is it so hard? Because I think these courses have lots of abstract concepts and there is no underlying connection when the students learn. Anyhow, what can we do with the course redesign? So we wanted to make some small steps. My idea has been somehow we got to tell a big story. We got to engage the students. And I also believe, I don't know how many of you will agree, if you truly understand a concept, you should be explaining that to a 5th grader in broad terms in a meaningful way. So I always try, if I want to teach something in my engineering class, can I explain to a 5th grader? Don't ask me where I got that idea of 5th grader, but maybe 3rd grader, but I have been always trying with 5th grader. And Angela talked about giving a story. So is there a story behind all these things? Can we tell a story? I work with a lot of K-12 students, so I get this luxury of talking to 5th graders. So I tell them lots of stories about robots and things like that. So I was there not too long ago, talking to a student. He says, Dr. Jawad, tell me a story. So I tell him, no, I don't want to talk about it now. He says, no, tell me a story. I said, what were you thinking? He was asking me. I was thinking about a woman. He said, are you thinking about a woman? Yeah. Does your wife know who that is? I said, no. Do you like her? I said, I love her. Oh my God, can you tell me more about her? So I tell him, you know, she's very strong, very athletic. I really like her. Why do you like her so much, Dr. Jawad? So I tell him, you know, if it is raining or shining, she's supporting me. If it is hot sun, she's still supporting me. I am tired and sick. I just want to sit at rest, and she still supports me. He says, can you tell me her name? I said, yeah. Her name is Steel. Steel? I said, yeah, people call her stainless steel because she is so strong. He asked me, can you tell me more about her? I said, come on, boy, let me explain a little bit of how she takes all this load abuse and withstands this pressure. And her strength is 800 PSI ultimate. And she won't yield till 350,000 PSI. Let me tell you all about steel. So my point here is there's a story. We can tell that story to the students. Not too long ago, we had faculty interviews, and I have faculty candidates presenting pictures like this. And they were talking about relative velocity, a part of dynamics class. And then they put up a slide like this. And this is exactly a slide from one of the candidates. And they start talking about this, and I'm thinking, I am not even relating to this. How are my students are going to relate? So how can we tell a story? How can we explain the concept in a simpler way so the students are engaged? Once they are engaged, you don't have to teach them because they will learn. So I came up with this, with the same concept. We said, how about we present this video, because we are talking about relative velocity. Is there a sound here?
I've had my ups and downs, my fair share of bumpy roads and heavy winds. That's what made me what I am today. Now I stand here before you. What you see is a body crafted to perfection, a pair of legs engineered to defy the laws of physics, and a mindset to master the most epic of splits.
Anyhow, I'm going to stop here, obviously. So I'm not sure if you notice, I'm not only showing the weight support reaction that we can do a static analysis, but I'm also showing those two vectors in blue. And realize the students have to watch this video before come to the class. It's only a 1-minute video, but the point here is if those two velocities of those two trucks are different, what would happen to Van Damme? Now that's an interesting story to talk about. Even a slightest, and this is a real shot, it's a real stunt, so it's a lot of interesting story about it. So now we are ready to talk about relative velocity with our students. Now they're a little bit more excited than before those. I'm not sure how to go back to my video, but let me see. Oh yeah. So now it's better than that one, right? So now we need derivation. So we can go to Paul Niesenson's video. I'm not going to play this completely, but I want to show you. He has got a beautiful presentation here on relative velocity. Now that you understand the concept, here is a detailed example.
At 600 kilometers an hour, while Jet A flies in a direction 60 degrees more toward the east. To an observer in Jet B, Jet A appears to be flying eastward.
So Paul has a soothing voice, and he narrates this whole thing step by step, and you can see he comes to all the answers and questions. So what we have done is we try to give a concept first, and the derivation video, which is a little bit longer, maybe 5-6 minutes, and then we go to more detailed examples and so on. But I also don't want you to get an impression that all these videos are very difficult to create. 2 years ago, we created this video, which I'm kind of not happy to share because it is highly unprofessional, done by a student. But interestingly, this is a 25 minutes video. Obviously, I'm not going to play this, but I want you to show what we have done. So you can do with the equipment that you have. This is a video solving a problem in statics. And I'm going to go here. This video talks about solving this problem. Look at the quality, 4 quality. I'm sitting there and talking.
Simple problem, and let's take a closer look at the problem. We have a beam.
So I discuss this problem, I solve it with free body diagrams and so on. Then I realized that this video was uploaded a little bit 2 years ago, and I look at it, it has 18,000 views. In other words, the video which I thought is the worst video of mine, the video that is done unprofessionally has the highest number of views with lots of comments. So what that means is you really don't need to spend too much time doing polishing videos, but you can just simply shoot. As long as it is kind of engaging and useful, you can do that. I do want to show you one of the last videos, 2 minutes video here, where we explain the concept of bending to our students. I'll play this for about a minute or so.
Bending is a common action that we all witness every day. Bending is forcing something into an angle. Here I have a wooden dowel in my hand, and I'm going to force this into an angle and bend it slightly. As you can see, the dowel bends. And let's take a look at the free body diagram of this dowel when it is bending. If I apply a force large enough, the bending becomes excessive and the dowel breaks. This is a simple demonstration that shows the effect of bending. In engineering, bending is very common. Beams and shafts are widely used structural elements and they are subjected to bending. As we have seen, bending can cause serious damage.
That's Tacoma
It's
Narrows
very
Bridge.
important engineers determine the stresses in these members caused by bending so they can avoid failure. This is the subject of our discussion today. We want to determine the stresses caused by bending. In many applications, you can visually see bending. However, it is not all. To make sure you can see how bending occurs, I want to show you a simple example outside.
I'm done.
Let us consider this weightlifting bar. This rod is 36 inches long and it has 17.5 pounds on each side. Let me lift this bar. Now let us draw the free body diagram of this rod. The forces due to the weights are shown at the end of the bar. The reaction at the hands must be equal and opposite to weights due to the symmetry. Now let us draw the free body diagram of the center portion of the bar. The force of the weight and the reaction form a couple on each side. As you can see, this bar is in bending.
Okay.
Bending.
That's about it. The point here is this is a concept you demonstrate. The students, all of you know how difficult it is for them to draw free body diagrams from an abstract concept. So you start with something real, draw a free body diagram which they can follow, and then they can move on to the other videos. So we are trying to make a little change in terms of how to deliver concept, in terms of how to move on to more difficult examples. We also follow up with these demonstrations, for which, for example, Poisson's ratio, we have actual demonstration, or we have tensile strength demonstrations, and so on. So we are hoping all these things will finally make some kind of a change in our student learning. And
Any questions for Jawa? You still got a few minutes. Anything? Want to see that Mandem video again? No?
yeah,
No.
there's some.
Yeah. Yeah, please, come to the mic.
So videos are awesome. You already know that. But have you gotten any feedback from any other campuses? Have they been using the videos at all? Because I know you have it open access right now on YouTube. So have you got any feedback from any of the other campuses?
We are kind of hiding it right now because we need to make sure it passes the assessment, accessibility. So we want to make sure the videos are properly looked at. E-learning team is helping us. Victoria and Bo has been very great with that. Make sure everything is properly captioned. Make sure the slides have the right fonts and things. So we want to make sure that this is a right demonstration rather than showing the wrong things. And we will have you are privileged to have a preview of what the website looks like. I mean online, but we will officially unveil, the public unveiling will be during our Poly Teach event next Friday, April 29th. And after that happens, we will let the website and the videos be open and we'll email to the rest of the CSU campuses. And then again, we welcome collaboration because our vision is a super site where the entire CSU or even other campuses have a super site where we can have all these concept videos in one site. And these videos are vetted by all the faculty so we can all point our students to there. Yeah.
Access and, who is allowed to see this? Is there an issue of sort of, copyright or property or?
Yeah, right now everything is open. The issues with copyright and access, we currently have that block, so is accessed by username password of the CSU only. All the rest of it, we make sure that we either get permission from the publisher or all of the figures, equations, text problems are either redid, redrawn, recalculated.
That's the reason it's taking so much time, because you cannot simply blankly take a picture from the book publisher and just share it with the public. And from that point of view, we've been working closely with Tom Scaife from McGraw Hills, because we happen to be using their textbooks for a long time. So he has been grateful enough to allow us to use some of these images on our slides. Any other questions? And again, this is a conversation I think I would love to have more collaboration, as somebody has pointed out. There's no way somebody can do it alone. Okay, great. Victoria.
So, Angela, I can't believe you made me follow Java.
No, you'll be great.
I have no Van Damme video.
But your slides look much better than Java's.
Okay. I do want to say that I wish that these techniques and these resources had been available when I was in high school and college. I might have been an engineer. I might have been able to succeed at math. Ultimately, I did, but I'm not an engineer. I'm currently the director of the Faculty Center and the e-learning team, and I'm also a lecturer in our plant science department. And Angela asked me to talk a little bit about the history of our support for technology on campus, because I don't think ME Online or ME, go ahead, it didn't come out of nowhere. They've done amazing work, but I think there is kind of a long history, starting at least 10 years ago with the Dolce 1 and 2 projects, and that stands for Designing Online Learning-Centered Environments, and I think that acronym was chosen to be SWEET, right? And these were funding that I think was available through the President's office at the time for teams of faculty to work together to design online courses. So it's kind of Cal Poly Pomona's first foray into online courses. And Dolce 1, there were 4 faculty teams that were selected, and mechanical engineering was one of them. And Angela and Jawa were on that team along with a couple of other people. And the 4 faculty teams worked on 1 course each, and that became an online course. And then Dolce 2 was an extension of that. Now these people, the faculty teams also worked with a team of instructional designers and multimedia developers and videographers and librarians. It was a giant effort, right? So, and that succeeded. Cal Poly Pomona got the online courses out of that. And then e-learning began to offer summer and winter e-learning institutes to help faculty learn to and support them in incorporating technology into their courses, with the goal of having more online courses. And but then it broadened its scope to being incorporating technology of any kind. And I'm just thrilled. Summer 2016 is going to be our largest summer institute ever, with almost 50 participants. And we have a theme of self-regulated learning, which doesn't sound very exciting, but if you're going to do online learning, helping students figure out how to persist and succeed is very key. And then we had Dolce da Solo in 2008 and 2009, and one of the lessons learned from the original Dolce projects was that it's really hard to work in teams. And so Dolce da Solo came along, and that supported a few faculty individually to do online courses, and engineering was not part of that one. It's kind of an overall picture here. Whoops. And then the Chancellor's course redesign with technology, which Leslie's already talked about, so I won't go into that. But engineering has been part of all of the 5 different grant programs from the Chancellor's course redesign with technology. I've just become the campus coordinator a couple of months ago, so I'm still kind of getting my feet underneath me in that role, but it has been so thrilling and inspiring to see the work that the faculty have done all over the university, and especially engineering, going and looking at their e-portfolios. I think, oh, I want to do that. Oh, I want to do that in my class, I want to do all this stuff. So it's very fun to be part of that. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay. So here are the course redesign for technology engineering courses so far. I'm not going to read them for you, although I will say that redesigning vector statistics should be redesigning vector statics. Sorry about that. And go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's our lessons learned from 10 years of working with faculty and supporting faculty through the Faculty Center and e-learning to do online learning and incorporating technology. I think this first one doesn't surprise anyone. It usually takes much longer than anyone thought to make a change, especially to make a sustainable change that goes beyond one professor and touches a department or a college. And I continue to be in awe of mechanical engineering and what they've been able to do in getting 16 out of 22 faculty to work together to produce what you're going to see later. And that leads into the second one. You can't force faculty to work in teams. Faculty teams have to come from the faculty. But there does need to be leadership, and I think Angela and Jawa and Paul have provided that for the mechanical engineering and really helped people to collaborate. This next one is my own opinion, to encourage people and support people in incorporating technology and learning. Make the bars to participation low, but make the expectations for output significant. So trying to plan events or programs that faculty can easily take advantage of, like providing assigned time or having a summer institute at a convenient time and in a beautiful location. Providing some stipends for participation instead of saying, well, we'll pay you after the work is done, which was one of the models that we tried. But the expectations for output being significant is another important part. You don't want to spend a lot of time and resources and then not get something out of it. But support, that support is important. And finally, again, this is my own opinion, you don't want faculty development or e-learning to be the completion police, or at least I don't want faculty development and e-learning to be the completion police. I would much rather support people to participate and see what comes out of that. So any questions for me?
My name is Amelito Enriquez and I'm from Cañada College. My question is really for Angela.
Okay.
So you had 16 out of 22 participate in your department. So what sort of incentive or threat can you give the faculty to do that? Because, and what happened to the 6? What sort of things they...
I took advantage of the natural collaborative nature of the faculty, took advantage of timing. We are in a time where we have been hiring a lot of the junior faculty who needs mentoring in teaching, seek guidance from the senior faculty. And at the same time, some of us, me and Jawa, have had this course redesign experience, like it says, since 2006. So I simply took advantage of the existing situation and took advantage of the existing mentoring mechanism and inform the faculty teams. And I think Victoria hit the point that the bar of participation has to be low. They have to be supported on technology. And the lucky thing we have is that I'm the technology guru, I suppose, in terms of what computers to get, what software to get. If you have any questions regarding debugging or anything, you can come to me. When it comes to video recording, Paul is the guru. Anything you want to talk about, using any devices, recording anything, you can go to Paul. And Jawa is the concept, course design, kind of redesign, flipping guru. And anybody has any questions like, oh, I want to try this thing, and then Jawa can support that. Well, try this, try that. This is something I have tried. But I think the most important part is that failure is okay. Don't ever tell them that what you're doing is incorrect. I think they need to experience their own failure. We all learn from our mistakes. And then all we are looking for is participation. I think engineering is a very critical bunch. We need to do it ourselves first, learn by doing, right? To prove to ourselves which way is the right way for me. And so to me, there's no correct answer. I think for me, it's just timing. Took advantage of what is naturally within the faculty.
Can I have my dean contact you and you talk?
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions? I'm not leaving. Why not? Are we okay here? Okay. And Bo Choi, we've been working since 2006 for the Dolce. I've learned so much from Bo from the instructional design point of view. You can tell her slides and our engineer slides are just totally different. That is something I will never be able to do. That's why I'm an engineer and not an artist, right? So Bo is going to talk about what e-learning can provide. I'm sure on your individual campus there's somebody like Bo somewhere that can help you answer a lot of these questions that you have, because I've relied on e-learning's help through the last 10 years. Here you go, Bo.
Okay. Hi, my name is Bo Choi. I'm an instructional designer at eLearning Cal Poly Pomona. Next. So let me take a few minutes to talk about my department at Cal Poly Pomona, which is eLearning. Next. So we are the resource for faculty to find and use the best technologies and pedagogically excellent ways to support student learning. We are a team of 4 instructional designers, 2 multimedia developers, 1 instructional technology consultant. And then, of course, you have met our director, Victoria Bafsar. Next.
Are we on the same one? Make sure.
Our instructional design process is based on ADDIE model, where we analyze, design, develop, implement, and evaluate any pedagogical problem, a new teaching idea, and, or may redesign entire course using effective technology to support student learning outcomes. Next. We also support a quality matter format, which is a QM, as a framework to base on, which is a framework based on the QM rubric standards. We provide a course template for faculty to use QM templates to build a QM quality courses.
On QM, sorry. Okay.
Okay. Oh, sorry. Next. Our multimedia development team works with instructional designer to produce a project types of that include interactive simulations and multimedia, the motion graphic, as well as animation, web page, as well as the mobile solutions. Next. Also, to support faculty, we also have a space called Studio 6, which was established to provide resources and service to assist faculty as they build courses or redesign the existing course. Our team supports the tools and technology, which includes the learning management system, Blackboard 9.1, and the content authoring tools such as Adobe Presenter and Camtasia, Adobe Creative Suite, and Office 365. E-learning's missions are, our missions for the faculty is to suggest and train the right tools, technologies, and resources to support student achievements at Cal Poly Pomona. Next. Let me talk about the programs that we offer. Victoria actually mentioned some of the programs that we offer on campus. Our Summer Institute, engaging the Digital Student Initiative, is also called EDSI. That has been offered every summer since 2008. It is a 4-day intensive workshops to support faculty in designing high-quality courses using various technologies to increase student engagement and learning. And as she shared, we have the most participants. We're going to have the most participants this year. Next. E-learning also values the faculty's stellar work, recognizing their course designing and developing their courses. The California State University established a program called CODES, which stands for the Quality Online Learning and Teaching. We also have an internal recognition program called Wall of Cool that celebrates exemplary course development at Cal Poly Pomona faculty. We have Dr. Paul Nissenson next, our Faculty Wall of Cool 2014, as well as Dr. Jawan Mariappan, as well as Dr. Faye Wax, our Wall of Cool 2015 year. Next. Lastly, for the past 4 years, Cal Poly Pomona has been producing an annual event on our campus called Poly Teach. Through a combination of interactive workshops and thought-provoking speaker, the symposium is designed to engage a campus dialogue around the infusion of technology. Next. So what else are e-learning do on campus? Next page. We collaborate with a lot of departments on campus. For library, we are committed with the Affordable Learning Initiative, as well as a lot of projects that e-learning do, such as the Dolce program. We work with the subject librarians. Next. We also work with a lot of information technology IT team, Media Vision, who video and audio production on campus, and also web development team and help desk, as well as Accessible Technology Initiative, ATI. And then next. And lastly, we also collaborate with DRC, which is our Disability Research Center, who supports our student body here. In addition to working with the faculty, we also support student staff projects, such as that we have worked with them is a Student Affairs e-orientation for veterans. Okay. So that's all about e-learning.
Any questions for Bo? Yeah.
Are your services free of charge?
For our campus, no.
Wait.
Free of charge?
Free, yeah, you're free. You haven't charged me anything.
Quick question. Are you considering opening the Cal Poly Teach and the Summer Institute to community college faculty?
I'll answer that question. So PolyTeach is definitely open. So if you go to www.cpp.edu/polyteach, anybody and everybody in this room, please come next Friday. The Summer Institute, we have traditionally had that just for our campus, and this year it's a little late to plan to open it up, but I could definitely see us, thank you for that idea. We'll consider that for next year.
Paul Clark, Miracosta College. A question about how the course management system, such as Blackboard or Moodle, plays into your development, and if you're planning to transition or allow faculty to use the new Canvas system, what role your department plays, and then what role the departments on the college play as far as those choices with the CMS.
Our campus currently uses Blackboard. When our department also supports Blackboard as any faculty troubleshooting, as well as through if any students having an issue there, we are the department that they contact. If we use a Blackboard, when we assist faculty creating a design, we usually use Blackboard Learning Management as a delivery resources. So when we create it, we usually use Blackboard as a backbone. So I wanted to actually refer to Victoria regarding on the changing the...
Cal Poly Pomona doesn't have a plan to change to Canvas at this point, and if a faculty member did want to use something different, of course we can't support it, sadly, but of course a faculty member is welcome to use anything that they want to. So a lot of our faculty do use outside websites so that students have a lot of access. I'm going to let Leslie talk about Canvas in particular.
Just wanted to ask, did you say you're Cuesta College? Miracosta, great. Just in context, the CSU has 4 LMSs, we call them Learning Management Systems, Course Management Systems, running Blackboard, Moodle, Canvas, and also Desire to Learn. And so we have no initiative to consolidate into a single LMS as the community colleges are right now. Community colleges are all moving towards a single LMS called Canvas. And the only institution in the CSU that has it is San Jose State. So it's a choice by each campus.
And from a department, also a faculty point of view, our vision, at least in the entire ME department, is crafting a personalized learning environment for our students. Blackboard has its advantage, which is very, very course specific. But when it comes to share resources outside of that single course in terms of collaboration with students, let's say I teach 2 sections of the same course, it's very, very difficult for students to collaborate across courses, let alone across discipline. Hence, we came up with the vision of ME Online. The ME Online will be the anchor piece or the backbone for further development into a more personalized learning environment. That, again, we're looking for collaboration with other software companies, with publishers, with more accessible instructional materials, and such as that, so that in addition to your own campus-wide LMSs, you now have additional resources that will provide vetted material, homeworks, texts, videos, for collectively for our students, and the faculty can use that as a professional community, student can use that as a community to share resources. So that's sort of our vision. I don't know, Vision 2030, but I hope that answers your question. All right, next. It may be strange that you see the Department of Psychology and Sociology participating in the engineering conference, but we're thinking of so much out of the box, like, well, engineering doing our own assessment is like inbreeding, right? Who's going to believe us? So we thought we're just going to get somebody so out of engineering to do the assessment of the tools for us. And we have a Dr. Juliana Fugua and a Dr. Faye Walks to talk about what kind of participation they have with our department in terms of assessing what we have done so far. So
thank you. So we've begun helping to assess and to do quantitative and qualitative assessments, and we have some preliminary data. We thought we'd give you an example of what we're seeing now and how we did it. I've been asked to keep it to about 3 to 5 minutes, so it won't be very long, but we can spend more time at lunch talking about it if you're interested. And I want to reiterate what Angela has said, that we are very interested in finding people who want to collaborate. As an assessment person, I really want to see more data. So it helps to have more data to really understand what's going on. So if we find people who are interested in doing what we're doing or collaborating and changing ideas, we can then have even greater data to understand what's going on and seeing if what we're doing is really effective. So our question in this recent example is, did our experimental group have more positive outcomes than the control group? Paul next to me will probably talk more about the treatment at some point today. I will basically say that there was one experimental section which had an online innovation, and he can talk more about that, and the control group did not have that extra online component. So it was a quasi-experimental design with 2 class sections, and the questionnaires were completed in the first and last week of the class. We worked on focus groups, but we won't be talking about them today. This is the data of interest to us today. So what we found is the experimental group actually had higher scores on social emotional items, such as confidence, satisfaction, and feeling stimulated by the innovation. So that's a good sign. We thought even if we don't see any learning differences, at least people seem to feel more satisfied and more confident with the experimental group, which had the innovation. We also conducted a course concept knowledge quiz, which was 13 points, 13 items, I should say. No points wasn't required. And that was developed by the faculty team here in the Mechanical Engineering Department. And students actually did better on that in the experimental group than the control group, and there was no difference in the pretest during week 1, so that was encouraging. The experimental group also had higher or slightly higher mean scores on the final exam. That wasn't true for the midterm, but it was for the final, which is a little more encouraging because that's more cumulative, at the end. And also slightly better on the course grade if we look at a statistical trend on as counting as significant. So very, very encouraging. I should mention that there were gender differences, and that's one of the things in psychology and sociology we start to look for, is what type of person is being helped, what type of person is not being helped. In the future, we'll look at, does socioeconomic status, first generation, ethnicity, do certain things come into play where certain people are not being benefited by the innovation as well as others? And if so, why or why not? But for this time, we looked at gender differences, and we did not find the same pattern for women. We only had about 18 women, so it's hard to say much with such a small number, but the pattern was not consistent. For the midterm example, there was slightly different results where it was not in the hypothesized direction. It was slightly worse for the experimental group. But there's so few women. But we did wonder, should we continue looking? We might want to think about whether some of these innovations, if it's an online innovation and it's not social, is there something going on where women might appreciate a more social intervention or some social component about it? And we're beginning to look at explanations for that. Next slide? Okay. Yeah. We do like this slide, which shows, for everyone at least, that this slide shows you on the x-axis grades earned in the course from F to A, and on the y-axis the percentage of students who earned that grade. The blue refers to the control group, and the green refers to the experimental group. So what you're seeing here is that the control group, among the control group, about 17% of them earned Fs in the course, whereas only 16% of the experimental group did. So that's about a 10% difference. Earning Ds in the course, 22% of the control group, about 18% of the experimental group. When we get to this, who earned the Cs? Well, among the control group, about 16%, and experimental group, about 23%. Earning Bs, they're about the same, 26% of each. And earning A's, only 16% in the control group earned A's, but 26%, 10% more, earned A's in the experimental group. So this is the kind of way we look at it and encouraging for the future. So I'm happy to answer questions now or at lunch if anyone has questions.
Yeah, and I want to also say Paul, Juliana, and Faye, they're going to have a lunch session that will talk in more details of how they set up this experiment, what was the innovation, the online innovation, and how did they do the study. I believe the results is very, very preliminary, right? It's only from the fall quarter. So we are doing this for a year long, and the course is actually a pretty tough course, fluid mechanics. So, but any general questions? Yeah.
Are the instructors with a control and experimental groups the same?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
It's Paul. We do wonder if there will be instructor differences. This past quarter, there was a different instructor, so we don't know how that person will describe it, interact with students, model it, say nice things about it, require it. So I imagine there may be differences, but we don't know yet.
Yeah, fall quarter was Paul, winter quarter was Dr. Zhao. She's a different instructor, the same mechanism. The only difference is a different instructor. In the spring quarter, it's back to Paul again, right? The two sections are the same thing. So we'll be curious if the instructor, the change of instructor will have any differences in the results.
And there are a lot of other variables that might play a factor that might, this is not a randomized experiment.
Yeah. But this is something I think, again, we welcome collaboration because I think if we can get more data across more instructors, more institutions, maybe we can reason something out and determine the true effectiveness of these tools. Yeah.
I'm J.P. Mosen, University of Louisville, Kentucky. Since we have someone from psychology and sociology, I would like to ask this question, which always comes to mind. When we are experimenting with a new and we would think that it's a more effective teaching technique, when we create a control group and then experimental section, if we truly feel that this technique would improve learning, are we doing a disservice to those who we are using as control group? What is your response to that?
That's always, I think, a problem when you're doing experiments. I'm working on some medical research on the other side, and that's even more of a conundrum. If you believe some intervention is going to help someone medically, it's the same issue. In this case, we aren't expecting the difference to be the difference between graduating as an engineer and dropping out and going on to do something else with your life. Right? I mean, this is a homework innovation that would like to see having an impact on people. But we don't necessarily expect it to be the make or break. It's one of many different small things that we could assess in this course. Yes, we do think it probably is working. Yes, we feel some reticence about not everyone having access to it. But overall, they're getting a similar enough teaching experience. And we really need to establish that this thing is working. Because if it's only working, if it is not working, then why are we going to make students do this? And if it's only working for some students, we need to figure out for which students is this most efficacious, and for the students that it's not working for, how can we create
things to reach them as well. And it's sort of part of creating a more personalized learning environment where students become more aware of what kind of learners they are and can choose from a range of resources that best match their learning styles. So in the end, I think we sort of have to set aside is this one student missing this one thing in this class, and look at the bigger goal of improved pedagogy overall.
And I'll add to that. Victoria, in her summer institute this year, the topic is about student self-regulation. From my experiences offering these tools is that if you don't, there are too many tools out there rather than too little. If you Google, there must be at least some static videos. There may be at least like a couple hundred that will pop up on static video. So the question from the student point of view is, okay, which one should I look at? Okay. Yes, we want them to learn on their own, but this is very, in my view, very, very random at this particular point, because there are too many things out there. So I sort of felt like responsible that in terms of, I wouldn't say prescribing, but at least try to figure out some kind of like a guideline, you know. Figure out who you are, what your learning styles are, maybe these, and make recommendation, maybe these tools are better for you. And then before I can make that recommendation, I need to find out, does it really work? Because if it works for me, hey, I already got a PhD, of course it's going to work for me. And then today's students, this is very, very different. So I think as far as I'm concerned, that's the reason why we want to have outside external assessor to really honestly evaluate if this is something I'm going to recommend, is this something that's going to generate additional costs? I better make sure that it is worth your money and time looking into it. So that's kind of from my own perspective. Paul, you have anything else you wanted to add since you're part of the, well, I don't want to kind of upstage you for the noon session, but no? Well, and you're up next anyway.
Yeah, so you wanted me to comment on...
Whatever, it's your turn, so you know.
Well, I mean, yeah, okay, I'll go up there anyways, okay. I'm going to need the internet, so...
Sure, well, just...
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, good morning. Okay, so you've heard of this thing, ME Online, about 20 times today. What is this thing called ME Online? We're going to show you today. So, one product of all these course redesign efforts, there we go, has been the creation of a large library of video tutorials. And as of right now, we have well over 200 videos created by at least 12 different faculty members by my count, have actually been involved in the video production process for 9 different courses. And we want to get this content out to our students, to our other faculty, to all of you, anyone who might want to see this content, and we want it to be very easy to access exactly what you're looking for. So we started off by just putting our videos on a YouTube channel that we created. And YouTube is wonderful. It's amazing. First of all, it's free. That's always great. And for that $0 a month payment that you make, you get unlimited streaming capability, unlimited storage space. You can put as many videos up there as you want. It costs nothing. It's really easy to add captions. And by the way, if you're interested in seeing just how easy it is nowadays to make a video, get it onto YouTube, and caption it, Jawa and I are going to have a workshop today during the 2 o'clock session in the library room, just in case you're interested in checking that out. The only negative thing about YouTube, or the only thing I think that could really use improvement, is the ability to organize content in a very user-friendly way. You have a YouTube channel, which is like a YouTube web page, but you're kind of stuck with this template that they have. And it wasn't, cutting it for us. It wasn't enough for us. So we turned to our university's e-learning team. You've already met a few people from there today. And our university's IT web development team to help us come up with a better solution. And that solution was ME Online. And so I see a lot of computers out there in the audience. You can actually visit the website right now. We're sort of beta testing it right now. As Angela said, we're going to unveil it during PolyTeach in about a week, officially. So if you go to www.cpp.edu/ME Online, you can check it out. And I'm going to take you on a little tour in a second. But I really do want to take a second to thank the e-learning team and IT web development team for giving us something that we came to them with an idea, sort of an outline of what we were wanting, and what they gave back to us was far more than we could have ever done on our own. So we're in debt to them for sure. Okay, so let's go take a really quick tour of ME Online. Okay, so here's the website, and let me try to make it a little bigger. People in the back. Okay, so on the left side of the screen, you can see links to 9 different courses. And so we're organizing our content by course title because we feel this is the most intuitive way for our students and our faculty to get to the content that they're interested in. We may organize it in a different way in the future, but for right now, we're organizing it by course title. You have access right now to 8 of the 9 different courses. We do have our vector statics content behind a password-protected wall. You have to have Cal Poly Pomona credentials to access it, and this is because we are using publisher's artwork in the videos. And so we're talking with the publisher. Maybe eventually we'll be able to make it available to the public, but at their request, we're keeping it behind a password-protected wall. Now, as you go through the website, you'll see videos of all different styles. You'll see videos like Jawa showed earlier. He seems very comfortable being in front of a camera and talking to the students, especially about conceptual videos. You'll find other videos where someone's in front of a classroom full of students. You'll find videos where someone's writing on a tablet. Other videos, my personal favorite way of making videos is with animated PowerPoint slides. That's just what I personally feel comfortable with. And so you'll find videos that talk about concepts, derivations, examples. And let me take you on let's go to the next available link. Vector Dynamics. Okay. Oh, and by the way, I do want to thank also Media Vision, which is our local media services team. And in fact, they're the ones who's filming us right now, for helping us with some of the video editing and also some of the video recording as well. So in Vector Dynamics, we have 4 major topic areas, and if we just go to kinematics of particles, you can see a bunch of links appear. These are links to different videos. Most of the videos on the website are around 5 to 10 minutes long. Some are a little shorter, some are a little longer, but we try to make them very short and very modular, just dealing with one topic at a time. So a student could come to the website and just say they want to know about projectile motion. Right? They could watch an introduction video of Jawa speaking in front of a camera, talking about projectile motion in very general terms, minimal equations or no equations at all. There's some fun little animations that help the students also visualize projectile motion. Then they could watch a derivation video where the projectile motion equations are rigorously derived. Lots of equations, lots of math. And at the very end, they get the equations that they could use then to solve a problem, in a projectile motion problem. So there's an example video that goes along with that. So I encourage you to, when you get a chance, to go visit the website and just see what's available. And you may find that 90% of the content is of no use to you at all. You don't teach that class, you don't like the way the instructor explains something, and that's totally understandable. But 10% of the videos, they might be of use to you, and you may even be willing to share a couple with your students. And that's the whole reason we made ME Online, is to make this resource that any students anywhere, any instructor anywhere could use in their own courses. And I also encourage you to come back often and check out this website often. This is a growing resource. And it's not an exaggeration at all to say that within the next year, if I came back here today or to the next ASEE PSW conference, there could be at least another 7,500 videos or more up there by then. So I thank you for your time, and I'd be happy to take any questions that you might have.
Paul Clark, Maricosta College. I'm just trying to wrap my head around the end result of the use of this. You said that it could be used by any student or any instructor anywhere. What's the relationship with, say, a specific online course in, say, statics or dynamics? is all the material going to be there? And if so, what's the relationship going to be with the publishers? And they're wanting to have a part in that. At this point, are all students required to purchase, say, the textbook or some of the other subscription services that the publishers are offering? So kind of the bigger picture, how does this relate to an actual instructor teaching an actual course? And who owns and who pays?
Okay.
I taught 214, so the block contents were what I have created, and when I created it, I wasn't using the traditional flip model. I was using a more of a hybrid flip model where I do lecture in class, whatever lecture means, meaning I talk, I interact with the student, I ask student questions, student get feedback. Give them some beginning of the homework problem, starts off there, and then I then record additional homework videos, because my problem has always been I don't have time, at least in the state university system, I don't have time to solve more example problems in class for students. I always run out of time. Because if you try to actively engage the students in discussions, in talking about concept and stuff, you always run out of time doing example problems. So that's how I started. And then the videos are created, at least at Cal Poly, we weren't even thinking about offering any online courses. We were thinking about, most of our students have come to us that they either don't have a very complete lecture notes, or they forgot what the instructor has said during the lecture. So it's mostly for review, actually, for our own students, from our own students' feedback. And so we weren't thinking of even heading in the online arena. We were thinking more of, I'm running out of time. I don't have time to cover more example problems. How can I provide the students more time, more example, more context, more concepts, so that they can go back and review and come back asking me more questions in the class. So that was the intent. And with the course material, of course the textbook is always required. But we've been talking to the publisher with online resources of unbundling the text with the concept questions. And that is something we're constantly in talk with the publisher. And the thought has been that even if you don't have any online material or text, traditionally students are always required to buy a textbook. And a used textbook on eBay, for example, a used statics book will be $70, $80 a piece. And if we can offer something that is maybe a little bit less than that, with a longer subscription model, the student can have the use of the text for 4 years, 3 to 4 years. That will be win-win for instructor and the students. So that is something that's currently negotiated from that point of view. Regarding the use of the videos, it's free. Everything is free. Like we said, we have these resources. You're welcome to use it any way you want. You want to use some of these videos in your own online courses, you are welcome to it. But there's no plan in the mechanical engineering department to offer any online stuff. However, we do have plan to maybe use this as a reach out, as a form of collaboration, forming learning communities, teaching communities with remote locations, because this will be our common backbone. We can anchor our story on a series of videos. So the eventual goal is, rather than having the site as a course-based site, we wanted to go more of a learning objective or learning outcome, so that you start formulating several strands of learning objects. Again, part of the personalized learning solution for students. So this is, again, our thoughts are very student-oriented, and that's why we set up the website to be like that. You want to add anything, Jawa or Paul? You guys both teach, so.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so one thing I did want to mention that I forgot to mention when I was up there is that some sections of the website are only going to have a small handful of videos, and other sections of the website are going to have, a complete set of videos maybe covering every single topic in the course. And so, so for example, with our 232 course up there, which is our sort of introduction to computer programming course, I've been able to use these videos to completely flip my class because they cover every single topic in the course. But again, yeah, it's just like what Angela was saying. It's whatever the instructor would like to do. They're free to use them in any way they want.
And I also wanted to comment is that we've taped some of the students' favorite professors, so we even have a complete lecture series. The student has been telling, this particular instructor, Dr. John Biddle, has been teaching for us for over 40 years. And his teaching evaluation has been in the 1.0203 range consistently.
So one's perfect, right?
He's almost perfect.
Okay, yeah.
In the student's view. And we even have alumni who come back and tell us, oh, I'm running into this problem. I hope I have Dr. John Biddle's video or lecture notes in this particular section. So we taped him. And we have many more of these complete lecture series for some of our emeritus and the top instructors, and we tape them. So again, how this website evolved is by student demand. It's not really driven by us. Students tell us, we want this. So we say, okay, and that's our top priority, and we're going to tape them.
Hi, Brian Self at Cal Poly, but up the road in San Luis Obispo. I'm wondering what aspects of the different videos seem to work the best. So students here might really like seeing Jawa up there because they have a connection, but my students don't know who he is at all. So I'm wondering kind of things like that, or adding interactivity, because right now it looks like everything's pretty passive. So I want to know sort of best practices. What have you found what aspects really seem to work, and what aspects in the video don't the students like, or what doesn't?
I want to say two things here. What really works for me, for my students, is not even the concept videos a lot, even though I like them. But I send out an email to my students before the class starts, or a week before the next class. I would like you to watch the following videos, and they are not mine always. Sometimes they are external videos from somewhere else. And most of them are review videos. For example, statics. We all teach statics, and the students come to the class, they don't know law of sine, they don't know law of cosine, they forgot everything. And that's frustrating on a quarter system. I mean, you end up reviewing the material that they need to know. So now I established a procedure. Before come to my class, please watch this 5 minutes video. There is going to be a quiz or something like really nasty. I say that if you don't watch this, it's going to be trouble. But I don't follow up on that. But I notice most of the students watch those videos because it's like 3 to 5 minutes. And I found that personally has been very helpful because most of the students have looked at it. Maybe they have not mastered it, but they kind of know what I'm talking about. I think the review videos work very well. The second thing that works really very well is really some difficult examples. Most of the time the students tell me, oh, you solved a problem that's too easy, but then you gave us a more difficult problem in the exam. This is common. Every student tells you, we never saw this problem before. So, and again, one of the challenges, if you have 50-minute statics or a dynamic strength of materials class, how are you going to solve many problems? So I put in like 2 or 3 videos where it's more like, I showed you a video, like a statics video. They are not very good, but the students are willing to go through a good example presented to them for 10 minutes or so. I found those videos work. They appreciate those examples because they have never seen them before, and we don't have time to solve them in the classes. I would say that's a good place to start for anyone else. For example, you can pick up some other videos like examples or review from other sources and try it in your class. And if you keep telling them you got to watch this video before you come, 70–80% of the students do that, and there is a small group that will try to watch in the class. You will know their cell phones are open. But I just kind of ignore first 2, and a couple of weeks later they kind of get it. It does help me a little bit. So you will have most of your students on your side. So I would say start with review videos. Not just our videos, look at YouTube. There are some very good resources like 5–10 minutes videos. For example, soldering. I don't want to do a soldering video for my students because there are some outstanding videos on soldering. I expect my students to watch the soldering videos before come to another class. So that's my take on it.
As Jawa is talking, I pull up this example video. Most of would say this is a very, very bad video because the handwriting is not that good and stuff. believe it or not, this is one of the top hit videos from the students' point of view. They said we want to see us solve the example problems. And this was done with a Microsoft Surface, I believe. David had a Microsoft Surface. So he's basically retyped the problems from a textbook or something, and he simply just sit in front of the Microsoft Surface using Camtasia and was just writing it and then talk for 5 minutes and solve that problem. And he had many of it. And very quickly, these type of videos have gathered hundreds of views from our students across everybody who is in Thermo, because we all share these with all of our students. And I also did a quick survey with the last 2 sections of Thermo that I taught. The first section had 120, the second section had the 60. This type of videos seems to be, I mean, for us, we're like, oh, this is embarrassing, it looks really bad. But from the student point of view, this is something they want. More example problems that reiterate of what you said in class, more complex problems. You can, I recorded a 6-part video that deals with a complex problem, and those are the sort of thing that they, at least from the survey that we've gotten so far, that they're interested. Yeah, and we have 3 more minutes, so any general questions?
I think we got one in the back, Angela.
While you're coming up, if anyone does try to decide to use some of these resources, I would love for you to contact us and see if there's a way we might help assess it for you. So if you had two class sections where you try it with one, not another, maybe we can collaborate on that.
I was wanting to ask, and maybe there's some publishers, I guess, in the audience as well. Is there any move towards e-textbooks where you could incorporate the videos right into the textbook? Do we have any publishers?
Yes. Yeah, and so you can come talk to us at the table, and we can show you what we're working on at any point today. We'll have our computer too.
And our department has joined
Thank
that
you.
debate as well from the faculty side. So again, this is something we would like to have an active discussion on. With regards to the video, like I said, our vision is to have a super site. But the important thing is I don't want students to Google videos randomly somewhere. We want them to come to a site where it's vetted, where you have various different views of presenting the same material, and students have the freedom to go and pick. And the most important thing is that there's a way for us to advance the pedagogy forward for engineering education. And I think somebody asked about faculty compensation. Again, that's what we do every day, any rate. And right now it's just putting our results on a site, and then everybody then can share the information that will save everybody time and money. And I also want to say that we're going to try to patent the phrase CSU on a budget. So yes, we can do it, even though we don't have much funding, but we can do it. And that we really, really appreciate the Chancellor's Office that thing giving us this opportunity. So thank you very much.
So I want to thank Angela and her team. I'm sure that this is absolutely awe-inspiring to me. I'm the chair of electrical and computer engineering here at Cal Poly, and we have a much smaller effort. One of the brief things I want to add is that we've taken the approach of putting review materials online for some of our beginning courses led by Dr. Chandra and Dr. Ali Zikioglu. And we have the same experience in terms of the preferred format. It turns out that students really like to see somebody who knows how to solve a problem just sit down and do it. And whether it's as polished as Khan Academy, or whether it looks like what Angela was showing, that seems to be what students really, really, really want to see. Anyway, so thanks to Angela and all. And thanks to everybody who managed to sit through all of that, which shows that maybe good pedagogy is useful, right? So I want to point out we have a 15-minute break. Again, the restrooms are just outside the door on the left. The parallel sections start in 15 minutes. There are 4 rooms. The Orion and Ursa major rooms are down the hall on the north side of the building, so down across the seating area here. And Andromeda and Lyra are downstairs